Hey girls, today is Monday, May 20th, and this is Module Mission 4, Lesson 3. Now, if you look at the figure I have here, it is two line segments, AB and CD. And these line segments are intersecting. And intersecting lines, it means they touch or cross at a point. So AB and CD are touching or crossing at point B. But there's also another thing that's very special about these lines, and that has to do with our lesson for today, is when these line segments touch, they form a right angle. And in this example, not only did they form one right angle, they formed two right angles. When two line segments or lines cross or intersect and form right angles, they are called perpendicular lines. That brings us to the ICANN statement for today. I can identify, define, and draw perpendicular lines. Now, after you write your ICANN statement, you can write the definition of perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines or segments intersect each other to form right angles. So let's take a look at these two examples. Move myself out of the way. So let's figure out what's happening here. So we have two line segments, CD and AB, and they are touching or they are intersecting at point D. Are they perpendicular? Are these perpendicular lines? If they are, they form right angles. So you can use that right angle template that we made yesterday if you want to try to figure it out on the screen. However, I can see here that this definitely is a right angle because that square can go right in there. So CD and AB are perpendicular lines. Now, when I go over here, I try to make a square here. Well, that's not working. So these two lines are not perpendicular. And actually, I can clearly see that this here, if I go from here and make an arc, ooh, that to me is definitely an obtuse angle. And then if I go over here, that's just a little acute angle. So this set of line segments, perpendicular. This set of lines, not perpendicular. So now we're going to move to our whiteboard. So let's figure out if these intersecting lines are perpendicular or not. And remember, intersecting lines just cross each other. That's all. So let's look at our first example. I have two lines. I have CD and I have EF. And I'm wondering if when they intersected, did it form right angles? So I'm going to use my right angle template that we made, and I'm going to line it up by the vertex. When I line this up, this is a perfect fit. So this is a right angle. And guess what? If this is a right angle, then that's a right angle too. So These are perpendicular lines. Now, the way that I use symbols to represent the perpendicular lines is like this. Line CD, remember from Monday's lesson, we put just like a mini line above the CD, is perpendicular to. You're basically using an upside down T. That's the symbol for is perpendicular to. So line CD is perpendicular to line EF. And just a throwback to Monday, why are these called lines? Because they can keep going and going and going and going in either direction. Let's look at our second example. I have line AB and I have line CD that are intersecting. So I'm going to use my template. I'm going to line it up on the bottom line and whoa, no way, that's where the right angle would be. This is definitely an obtuse angle. So these are not perpendicular. So I'm just going to write not perpendicular. And then my last example for determining if the lines are perpendicular. I have line JK and I have line GH. Use my template and determine if these are perpendicular. Ooh, yes, that fits perfectly to form a right angle. And here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 right angles in this particular example. So it doesn't matter if the lines go diagonal. It doesn't mean that they're not perpendicular just because it's diagonal. These actually are almost exactly like this model here. So I'm going to write that JK is perpendicular to that upside down T line GH. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create our own perpendicular lines. We always start with a line, and lines always start with points. And I'm going to label these points AB. I'm going to use my straight edge. And I have line AB. Now what I'm going to use in order to make sure I have perpendicular lines is I'm going to use my right angle template. I'm going to put it somewhere on my line, and then I'm just going to trace right next to it. Now I can use my straight edge to extend the line. Ah, beautiful. And I'm going to call this line CD. And then I'm going to write a statement using the symbols. Line AB is perpendicular to line CD. Let's do one more. And this time I'm going to make my line going diagonal. So I always start with 2 points. And I think I'll call these points W, X. Going to connect my points to form a line. Get those arrows at the end. Then I'm going to use my right angle template again. And you can put it anywhere on your line. Now I have my guide. I can draw my other line. And I think I'll call this line YZ. So I have line WX is perpendicular to line YZ. So when you go to do your problem set, use that right angle template to help you, because sometimes it's very obvious, but sometimes it's not so obvious. Also want you to think about some letters of the alphabet that have perpendicular segments in them. So when you're done with your problem set, take a picture, send it to me, and I will see you mañana. Bye.